Hey yo, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, as part of our Breeders' Cup handicapping series, today we're going to look at the filly and mare sprint. So let's have at it. So here's the filly and mare sprint, and it's important to note that it is at 7 furlongs, whereas the Breeders' Cup sprint is at 6. And also note, this one starts in a chute. And as we know with those type of races, those horses to the inside, if they don't break alertly, can often get shuffled back. And I mention that because the first contestant we're looking at is Goodnight Olive. And we know that Goodnight Olive does not run on the front end. She tends to rate. So this may pose a bit of a challenge from the rail in the 7 furlong chute. Aside from that, Goodnight Olive has been a little, what I consider to be about a half a step slow from the year prior. And I noticed that beginning of the year that in the Madison and then, the race there at Churchill Downs, I can't remember the name of it, but she had awful luck in that race and got completely shut off. We're not going to blame her for that. But in the Bed of Roses, the ones that she won, she looked like she was working a little harder than she should to win those races. And those fields were not necessarily the cream of the crop. And then in the Ballerina against Ekuzulu, she had no answer. And I don't think anybody would against her. But and it was in the mud, so maybe we can give a little bit of an excuse there. But it's just one of those things. I just don't think she's quite the horse she was last year. She's still an excellent horse. Can she win this race? Absolutely. However, there are some stern challengers in here, and I'm just not so sure it's quite as much of a lock as we thought it was last year. So are we going to use Goodnight Olive? Absolutely, but I don't think it's a dead cert like it was last year. Clearly Unhinged is a California horse, and this one has speed on the front end. And the Chillingworth last time I thought ran a really nice race. Just got nipped by Kirsten Bosch, but this one has some speed, is a 3-year-old, of course, eligible to improve, and is coming into this race second off the layoff from Mike McCarthy. You got Umberto Rispoli aboard. They're a 33% winning combination. So, and this one is 3 of 4 in the money at Santa Anita. So a lot of things working in this one's favor. Needs to jack it up another level to win this race. Would have to get up with a career best speed figure, I think, to win. But let's note, she ran a nice race in the test earlier in the year in that ill-fated race. But so she's coming to this race, she's pretty salty and I think might be a pretty good fit class-wise. At 12-1, she can rate. She doesn't have to have the lead. So perhaps this is one that could factor in this race. And at 12-1, you get a pretty good price. Wouldn't want to discount completely. Ida is one that, to be very, very honest, I could not figure out how this one won so many races. Her speed figures look light, and she just seems to have found a way to win. However, the Rancho Bernardo was one I didn't think she could jack it up high enough to win, but she did. And but it obviously had an effect because in the Chillingworth she fell right off the table, and I wasn't really surprised to see that. Also note that those were all 6.5 furlong races as opposed to 7, and the last time she ran 7 was in the Del Mar Debutante, and it did not factor very well in that. An extra half a furlong can make a really big difference. It is Bob Baffert. You got Juan Hernandez, but this is a horse it just can't. I just think is eminently beatable in this race. And she's won 4 out of 5 at Santa Anita, but I really don't think that she's faced the same type of class level as the other top horses in here. So for me, Ida is going to be a scratch. Mare is one that's just a hair below the very best. This is a really nice horse. Brad Cox, Flavian Pratt, great connections. But you notice that when she's gone up to the grade 1 level, it's been kind of mixed. Now, she did win that 7 furlong sprint where Goodnight Olive had just terrible traffic problems, and Mare was able to rate and hang on and win. But at the Bell Arena, you see she really didn't factor at all. Granted, you're going against Echo Zulu, so we can kind of give her a pass on that. Echo Zulu obviously isn't here where she was, but she isn't. 7 furlongs is a distance that she has not won at, or hasn't won at in a while, let's say. Had some success in the 8 Bells and the Beaumont Stakes, but more recently, when the class levels have been a little higher, she hasn't factored very well. So all that considered, this is a field that I just don't, you only see one triple-digit speed figure there, and that's probably the issue more than anything else. And I think this is probably a case where she's just not fast enough. Could she get in underneath? Sure, but at 6-1, I'd like somebody with a little better value than that. Kiren Bos is logical in this race. 7 furlong sprints always are great for closers. It's just that extra panel. It's really hard to hang on from the front end. Kiren Bos just won the Chillingworth. Is coming into the race in good form. So I think all systems are go there. The added distance should definitely help. And I like the fact that she can run 2 turns as well. And so she has that little extra stamina. So the problem you have is that everybody's going to look at Kiren Bos and say, closer, 7 furlongs, push the button. So you're not going to get true value, I don't think. However, I think you certainly have to use, and I would consider her to be more underneath than actually winning this, but is definitely in the mix to be sure. Mickey Yell, I watched that Sprinter Stakes as her last race, and she closed into it pretty well. I think she'll be likely coming from off the pace. Has had kind of a checkerboard career, sometimes pretty good, sometimes not. You don't see any grade 1 wins there, and so that kind of makes me wonder if she really has the class to compete. More notably is that her races are all on turf. And when you see a horse with 17 starts, 7 wins, and then no seconds, no thirds, she's kind of an all-or-nothing type of horse. And so when you get those type of situations and the class level starts going up, that's when the true colors come out. So I'm not overly high on Mikael. Being probably a late runner, maybe it's one that you can throw in the mix at 15-1. It's a pretty good price. But I think she'd need a complete pace collapse, and some of the more notable horses just not firing for her to factor. So it would be completely price dependent on whether I use this horse or not. Society is a horse that's getting a lot of buzz, and rightfully so. I mean, she is fast. She's got a ton of early lick. The problem is a lot of times with her is finishing. Steve Asmussen, knows how to keep a horse running well continuously. So once he gets them running well, they stay that way for a while. So if we look at Society's record, we see at 7 furlongs, 3 out of 4. And the reason for that, more than anything, I think, is that she does have 2-turn stamina. Now, you can argue that, yes, but she hasn't really won much around 2 turns. That's true, but look at the Cotillion. And in some of those other races, she was probably a little over her head class-wise in the La Troyenne and some of the others. So this is a bit of a relief from that. I don't consider this to be really a top field. She's likely going to get on the engine all by herself, and that's exactly where she wants to be, at a distance that she can run at. You see her last couple efforts have been really outstanding, career high, close to career high efforts. So she's coming into this race in very good form and fresh. So on the lead, I think she's going to be awfully dangerous. And if she can maintain that form, I don't know that she necessarily has to take a step forward. If she can just maintain it, then I think she might be pretty hard to beat in this spot. And I think that's one of the reasons why Steve Asmussen was going to run Echo Zulu against the boys in the sprint, because he was confident he had Society in this race. So I think Society is a logical win candidate and looks pretty good to me from here. Three Witches is one that, just won the Princess Rooney. But as I mentioned in our other videos, the Florida horses really haven't been so hot the last couple of years. And save for everybody's favorite enigma, White Barrio, who's just so polarizing, most of them haven't really fired when they get outside of Florida. Now, Three Witches just ran in the Princess Rooney, which is a grade 3. And ran a nice race and got the win, and it was her second in a row. But note, she really hasn't faced grade 1 company ever. She has run at 7 furlongs and been pretty successful at it. 2 wins, a second and a third, and 4 starts. So it's definitely a distance that she can run at. But she's going to have to jack it up speed-wise in order to be competitive within this field. So I don't think that's... I'm not really going to give her much credence in this race, especially, you also, Saffie Joseph, never great outside of Florida. So that's just an added reason to knock this one. So I'll toss Three Witches. Finally, Yu Giri is a horse that I like in this spot, mainly because she has stamina, 2-turn type of stamina. So 7 furlongs is a distance that she can should be able to handle. Now, you can say back in the Madison earlier in the year, the only time she ran at the distance, she was up the track. Have to believe something else was the issue there. This horse is too good. The only other time she hasn't been competitive the only 2 other times were on turf and synthetic. This is back on dirt, which she likes. I think that she is very logical in this spot. The only thing that I wonder about, excuse me, is that in that TCA, she ran a monster race, dueling with Wicked Halo all the way down the stretch. And usually when horses come out of a really a big dogfight like that, the next race is when you want to bet against them. So I think Yu Giri is class-wise a fit here. I think everything's a fit. I do wonder about that last race, if maybe it takes a little bit out of her in the stretch for this one. And that's my really only knock on Yu Giri. So let's see what we got from this field. So if we look at this field, this is what, in my opinion, the horses I want to use. I like Clearly Unhinged. As a 3-year-old, has the right to get better and is coming to this race in pretty good form. Going to be a real tall order on the front end, knocking heads with Society, but does have the home advantage and is coming to the race in good form. So I'll give her a shot at 12-1. Society, to me, is the horse to beat in this race, not Good-Eyed Olive. She should be able to get to the lead. And a lot of these horses don't necessarily want the lead either, so they're going to be content to rate and then try to close her down. So that's going to allow Society, I think, to get free and clear on the lead at a distance that she loves. And I expect a peak effort, and I think she should be able to wire this field. Goodnight Olive certainly can't be overlooked. I do wonder about the post, the rail, though. It is possible she could get pinched back, and that may compromise her chances. I don't think her form is quite as good as it was last year, but still a worthy competitor, definitely one you have to consider, and also very capable of winning this race. And then for value, more underneath than anything else, I'll take the 2 closers, Kirsten Bosch and Mickey Yell. Kirsten Bosch, I think you're probably going to get an underlay because everybody's going to be looking at the closing angle for 7 furlong horses. But I think this one is in good form and could very well get into the money. I'm not so sure that she can win this one. Mickey Yell also for value mainly. Stranger things have happened, but I think you're going to get the price, and that's really what's more attractive to me than anything else in this field. So, in my opinion, Society is the horse to beat in this race, followed very closely by Goodnight Olive. So that's the Filly and Mare Sprint. I think it's a two-horse race again. I'm liking Society to pull it off. I think getting on the front end, I don't expect it. She's going to be challenged terribly much, and from there, should be able to control the race at a distance that she loves. So, Goodnight Olive's going to give her usual great effort. I just think she's not quite in the same form she was in last year, but it should make for an entertaining race for sure, and I'm looking forward to it. Hope our analysis helps you as always with your own wagering, and I wish you the best of luck. We'll continue with our postings. We've got 5 more to do, and we will have those all available to you, so stay tuned. And if you do like content like this, of course, please like and subscribe, as it does help us to keep going, and we appreciate the support from those of you who have signed on so far. So that's it from here. I'll be talking to you real soon, so hang in there and be well.